the division was absolutely stacked at the time as well. You know, you had guys like Thiago Alves, who was wrecking people. John Fitch, tough guy. He was one of the only guys to beat him during the run that he was having. And then we had the huge fight, paved the way for the title versus title matches that we see today. BJ Penn, you know, that was something that really was out of the ordinary at that time. What was it like fighting a guy that was doing the same thing in the lower weight class, in the lightweight division?
I think the best fighter that I have fought, pound for pound, I think it's BJ Penn. For the time being, I think he was when he was in his prime, he was the perfect fighter, and he was a hell of a puzzle to solve. I remember the first fight I had with him. He gave me the worst beating I ever had in a fight. You know, even though I won in a split decision, it took me a few days to recuperate from that fight. I was at the hospital. I was bloody. I was a mess, but I learned a lot from it. And the second time I fought him, I did a better performance.
Yeah, and then when you look at some of the biggest nights in your career, the Toronto one stands out, and it's not one that people talk about a lot, the Jake Shields fight, right? Because I remember when that fight was happening 11 years ago, 2011, the UFC had never done a stadium show like that, and it was the first one in Toronto as well. Absolutely huge for the sport. What was that like walking out of that stadium that night? It must have been tremendous.
Yeah, it feels very strange. I mean, I remember walking to the octagon. It feels like, because normally the shows are in an arena, but this show was in a stadium in front more than 50,000 people. So it was just a different atmosphere. But I always told myself, when something is strange and it's unknown for me, it is strange and unknown for my opponent as well. So I don't see that as a disadvantage. I see it as a neutral thing, and it's the one that will adapt himself the best to the environment that will succeed, that has the odds to succeed the best.
Yeah, because he was coming through as Strikeforce champion as well. We had a similar sort of thing where we had in 2007 with the Pride acquisition. We had the Strikeforce guys coming through. A lot of them guys did end up having success, like Luke Rockhold ended up winning the middleweight title. So that was a real big fight feel with that one, with the Jake Shields fight. And then after that one, the Nick Diaz one, part of the Strikeforce acquisition. That was a fun one for the fans. Everyone wanted to see it from the Where You At, George promo that he cut. You're a very cool, calm and collected man. What was it like having the Diaz bros on you like that?
I never took it personal. For me, a fight, it's strictly business. There is no fighter that I have fought that I have a negative attitude towards. Like, I like all the guys that I've fought because we share a moment, we share a bond that I will remember forever. And any of those guys today, if they are in trouble, it would be my pleasure to help them. You know what I mean? For sure, when you fight someone to promote the fight, you know, there's the mental game, you know, the trash talking and all that, but it never affects me, and I don't take it personal.
It's so awesome to see you with Carlos Condit and Michael Bisping, your former opponents. We're going to be speaking to both those guys today. Condit, what a war that was. He was on an incredible run of just finishing guys left, right, and center. He beat Nick Diaz that year and got the interim belt, so we had a belt versus belt fight. Tough matchup, weren't it? It was a tough war that you had with that one.
Oh yeah, he's one of the guys that knocked me down with a crazy head kick. And I remember when that happened, for a split second, I kind of lost consciousness, and I woke up when I was sitting on the floor. Like I had like a flash knockdown, and I saw him running towards me, and I told myself, I said, oh shit, I'm not gonna get knocked out, hell no. So I went in the guard, I protect myself, I weathered the storm, and I was able to get back in the fight.
Yeah, you showed tremendous aggression in that fight as well. The ground and pound was absolutely crazy. You cut him open quite early, didn't you? There was a lot of blood in that fight. Just finally, I have to ask, George, because you're always looking in tremendous shape, and the Khabib fight was always discussed. There's been other fights that have been discussed. Could we actually ever see you back in the octagon, or are you done for good now? Is it done?
It's exactly the same reason why the Anderson Silva fight never happened. It's the UFC. The UFC could have made it, but they had other plan. It's always a question of timing. And at the time that we wanted to make the fight happen, they had other plan for how things will go down. It's unfortunate for the fans and for us, because that's why we wanted both to happen. But UFC, it's a business, and sometimes they have to do what is good for their business and not necessarily what is good for the fighters, you know what I mean?